everybody? OldSchoolNYCGamer here once again. And today, since it is my day off, I had nothing better to do, going through my stuff. I said, you know what? Let me do a little collection video here. And I'm surprised. Woo, that's a lot of freaking games. Especially now we're in 2017 and Nintendo being the talk, either with the Switch or with the shortage of the NES Mini. And now with the Super Nintendo Classic Mini coming up within about a couple months. But I'm focusing here on my Nintendo collection, aka the NES. So, I mean, I've been basically keeping this stuff around for quite a long time, but it was only within the last few years I started collecting very heavily. Quite a few games I did get rid of, but I'm actually going to start slimming down a little more, because I definitely do want to keep quite a few of these, and of course you'll know which ones I'm keeping as I'm talking about it. At last count, there were about 107 games actually, a bunch of unlicensed games, one bootleg cart, but you know, I'm going to talk more about these games, you know, my feelings about them, my little history, so sit tight. I'm going to try to get this video as quickly as possible, so let's get into it. So with the first stack of games I got right here, everybody, let's see what I got. Now, of course, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Tengen games. And of course, the first one I'm looking at right here, and I sure as hell did not pay $25 on the sticker here, is Super Spring. Now, a really good arcade game to play, but not so much the port per se. But you know, for the NES's limitations, it wasn't too bad. So that's one of them right there. And of course, this is one of my favorite games, either in the console or in the arcade, and that is Pac-Mania. And of course, not really translated well, to be quite honest with you, to the NES, and that is Afterburner. And one here, not too bad of a conversion to the NES, and that is Rolling Thunder. And this one, I have to say, was actually ported very well, and that is Gauntlet. And last but not least, we cannot forget Pac-Man, but the Tengen version, not the official NES release. And the one cart I have here, bootleg card, is a 31-in-1. I got this from Cynical Enigma, I believe, at the Classic Gaming Expo a few years back. And looking at the games here, Mary 2, Mary 1, which I really don't know. Maybe I definitely should do a video of this, and I keep talking about this. Kung Fu Circus, which is Circus Charlie. Xerion. Just trying to name off some of the games that you would know. Mappy, Ninja, which would be Ninja Gaiden. Galaga, Galaxian, let's see, Excite Bike, Lunar Ball, Zippy Race, and much more. So I definitely should, you know, definitely want to do a video of this, you know, to cover this bootleg cart. And out of curiosity, now looking at it, there's actually screws on this, so we can probably open this up and see, you know, if this is a Famicom cart within. I mean, it feels really heavy, so I would believe so. So now, the box games that I have, they're not really box, I just got them with the Universal Game cases, and first one here is Contra, which sure as hell no, I'm not getting rid of that game. This was a gift, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm trying to remember who it was, and it's killing me now, I'm really sorry who got this one for me. River City Ransom, and of course I have a lot of history with this game, and that is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! And as if you've seen some of my past videos even talking about it, even one series I did on How Far Can I Go, and I actually believe I got up to I think Mr. Sandman, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not too sure about that. That video was done a while ago, but yeah, one of the more underrated quote-unquote sports games for the NES. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this chunk here, and let's see what I got here. Of course, a classic from Konami, Castlevania. This bed's gonna get really packed really quick. RoboCop. One game, really it has to be a two-player thing, but I'm not too much of a fan of it, and that is Urban Champion. And a classic, which I'm not gonna be getting rid of, Double Dragon. Let's see, not too bad of an arcade game, but of course, you know, I'm more into sports. That was more my thing when I was a kid, and that is 10-Yard Fight. Another classic Nintendo game here, Ice Climber. Of course, Metroid. And OIE has this, and I'm trying to figure a way how I could get this off without damaging the label. So if anybody knows, please, a guaranteed way. I believe a dry erase marker could do this, so let me know in the comments. But I actually have another Metroid somewhere around here. I have the yellow label Metroid too. So, let's see here. Next up from SNK is Guerrilla War. Now, it's kind of hard to translate this game per se, because if you guys remember, the arcade version had a swivel control where you could shoot in 8 directions. So to play it on this, it's a little weird per se, and I'm not really too much of a fan of it, but it's an okay game. And let's see, Life Force. And one of my favorite games in the arcades, Joust. And oh man, I'm actually surprised I have this one game. And I have a little bit of a history with it, believe it or not, and that is Jordan versus Bird 1-on-1, and I begged my mom to give me this game. Simply because, they were two of the biggest basketball players in the late 80s. And, playing one-on-one with some of my friends, it actually was a pretty fun little game, but it was 2-player versus. And one game, to this day, I will do a Let's Play of this, just because I don't know what the hell I'm doing to this day. And I know it's a very easy game, but also very challenging. And that is Top Secret Episode Go-Go 13 by Vic Tokai. This game definitely is really, really fun, and it's a little bunch of innuendos in there. My upstairs neighbor had this game, and we used to play the hell out of this, and we would just get lost in this game, like literally lost. And one game I recently got, and that is Kirby's Adventure. And let's see here. I'm gonna keep going. I'm afraid to grab certain parts. I don't want this all collapsing on me. Wizards and Warriors. And one game I actually do find to be one of my favorite sports games on the NES, Bases Loaded. And of course, that's to argument right there. One game I really haven't spent too much time with, and that is Wampum. And of course, the classic Nintendo baseball. And one game I'm really have a lot of history with, and this is fun as hell, more arcade style like, and that is Nintendo's Ice Hockey. And of course here we got Ninja Gaiden, or Gaiden, however you want to pronounce it, tomato tomato. And one of my favorites here too, Excite Bike. Okay, here, and one from the arcades that was ported very well over to the NES, and that is Kung Fu, and it actually does have the manual. Defender 2, which is can't say a hidden successor to the original Defender, but it's actually not that bad though. And of course, this one comes with the manual, and of course I have it backwards, and that is Spy Hunter. Not a bad port of it. I mean, if they had the driving controller for this, it would be a lot better game, I believe, in my opinion. And from Data East, we got Rampage. Not a bad port. Going over to the NES. And let's see here, Dr. Mario. One of my favorites I played to death when I was a kid, and this is one of my favorite racing games, and that is RC Pro-Am. One I've never really played because I find on the 8-bit never really ported too well, in my opinion, up until the Genesis came around, and that is Soccer. Okay, and continuing on here, we have Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos, and Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. One I have a little bit of history with, not a bad game, some people hate on it, but it does have a history with it within its own, and that is Hogan's Alley. And one here is one of my favorites, and it comes with the manual, and that is the Donkey Kong Arcade Classic Series. And of course here, this is what's actually featured in Back to the Future. It's ported over actually from the arcade to the home, and that is Wild Gunman. And we got Gradius, or Gradius. Like I said, everybody has a different way of pronouncing some of these games, and some get a little crazy over it. And as we're continuing on, one other game, one of the other sports games that was converted over from the arcade, which I find, you know, is better with 2-player, because 1-player is not so fun, and that is Track and Field. And of course, we got the original Super Mario Brothers, or Super Mario Bros. And I gotta say, playing this actually, the actual pinball game and the actual this game here I have in my hand is actually not too bad. It's a decent translation over, and that is Pinbot. And of course, here we have Rad Racer. I had a little love-hate relationship with this game. And of course, we got Gauntlet 2. These games are about to slide over and about to hit the floor, and you're gonna hear one of them. Target Renegade. And one game here I never really had a history with. It's kind of so-so, but of course everybody has an opinion about certain games, and that is Gumshoe. And we're getting to the nitty-gritty here, ladies and gentlemen, as I'm not trying to drop these. Okay, another classic arcade game that was ported over to the NES by Vic Tokai, and that is Bump It Jump. Let's see, and one of my favorites, but not so much surprisingly, when it got ported over, it's meh. I mean, I consider playing the actual game if I can find the arcade cabinet for it, or even if it's on the Midway Arcade Treasures, or something like that, and that is Paperboy. Now, one of my favorite games, and not a halfway bad, decent port of it, to the NES, and that is Baseball Stars. There goes one of them. Okay, so this Super C, which is the sequel to Contra. And of course, you have to have Tetris, but I would prefer the Tengen Tetris, actually. Everybody has an opinion. But anyway, now continuing on here. Not so much a lot of fan favorites, and I'm not really into it myself, but you know, it's part of the collection, and that is Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. And not one of my favorites, but you know, it's a Simpsons thing, so it's The Simpsons, Bart vs. Space Mutants. And let's see here, Pinball Quest by Jalico. Waiting for that next one to fall. Let's see, Akari 2 or Akari Warriors 3: The Rescue. Definitely not one of my favorite games, but of course this actually features Mario of all things. Golf. And let's see here, Iron Sword 2 Wizard and Warriors, and to this day, we all know that is Fabio on the box art. And one of my favorite games, definitely ported over nicely, and by Bandai, and that is Galaga. So let's continue on here, ladies and gentlemen. From Taito, not the best translation. It's okay, but I feel if there was a way, some kind of a specific peripheral for this game, but I know they wouldn't do it for one game, would have made it better, and that is Operation Wolf. And yet another game, just like Guerrilla War, specifically from the arcade, it has a 8-way, like a dial, where you could aim and shoot and also move around. Didn't necessarily translate too well, but it's okay. And from Data East, that is Heavy Barrel. And of course, we got Gunsmoke, not Gun.Smoke, Gunsmoke. Everybody has an opinion on this one. Definitely one of the rarer, more hidden gems that Capcom put out for the NES, in my opinion. And one of these, I'm surprised I have, is a Funko Land cover, but actually, it's Mappy Land. Little different from the you know, the arcade version, so to speak, but it's not bad. And of course, one of my old games I still have to this day, and that is Skate or Die. And to this day, I can never really master it, but I still find it a fun game. And another fun game here is Wrecking Crew. And one of those sports games that I just love playing against a friend and beating the living crap out of them at. Double Dribble by Konami. Oh boy, it's getting a little hot in here. But of course, going through all these games, what do you expect? And let me go through, oh yeah, that other Metroid label variation. Now, can someone answer this in the comments? Why did they have two different label versions of Metroid? I'm really, really curious to know why. And one of my other, like I said, one of my other favorite games that I love to play against a friend, and of course, because the fight scenes are just really, really awesome, and that is Blades of Steel. See, really damaged label, but still the gameplay is fine. Chippendale's Rescue Rangers. Not one of my favorite games within the series, but it's meh. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And of course, I believe I got this off one of the patrons over at Digital Press during one of the last NAVA meetings, or I think I bought it off him, I can't remember. Snake's Revenge. See, I don't know if this is a sequel after Metal Gear. If someone could answer this for me, please do. Because I was not really too much into the Metal Gear series. I only played really the first Metal Gear game on the NES. A lot of people give this game flack, but it's not too bad. I mean, maybe because I just have a nostalgia with it. And that is Top Gun. And from Temco, Mighty Bomb Jack, which is a very decent, very good translation into the NES. So, let me just dig in here and get some more games. Oh, and actually, speaking of Metal Gear, boom. This game, me and my friend played for hours on end. I can't really say enough about this game. Of course, you know, even though you're supposed to be stealthy, me and my friend just wanted to just shoot the crap out of everything. But we were very young, so go figure that one. And let's see here, part of the Black Box series, that is Slalom. Just waiting for one or more of those games to fall down. One of the more hidden gems, in my opinion, a lot of people don't talk about this game as much, and that is Kid Icarus. And hard as balls game ported over to the NES from Taito, and that is Renegade. And this, even in the arcade, is so frustrating. And of course, Super Mario Bros. 3. And we got Akari Warriors 2, Victory Road. From Jellicoe City Connection. Not a bad platforming game. I can't say necessarily it's a racing game. It's more like it's got to dodge some of these cars. They don't hit you. You got to avoid cats. Go figure, of course, if you want to be humane, you won't run them over. Because if you hit them, you lose a life. And of course, next up, we got Tiger Heli. And an excellent, I have to say, because of course Nintendo put it out in the arcades, and they did a very excellent job of porting this over to the NES, and that is Popeye. And of course, we have Gyromite, but I don't have Rob. And yes, this is the 5-screw. This is a heavy one, as I drop it. And definitely does have the Famicom converter. So, as we continue on, as they all fall down, or a couple of them, one gets away from me. Actually, wow. This is one game I have quite a bit of history with from my friend's house. And that is Russian Attack. And we would, I believe, get up to the 3rd or 4th stage and then just get our asses kicked. But this game was always fun. Always fun to play. And of course in the arcades too, I believe it's called something else if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, still a fun game to play though. And of course here, Bandai wanted to do something a little different with this series. It's not a bad game per se, but it's actually, pretty playable. And that is Dig Dug 2. And let's see here, Disney's Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. So right there. And of course, because even though it's LJN, it's, but I have history with the comic book character and the game itself, and that is the Punisher. And we got here Clue Land. And people are gonna hate on this game. I can kind of hate on it now for it being, you know, just because I saw MLB on it, thinking, oh wow, it's gonna be such an awesome game. But LGN were the developers on this one, or the publisher, so not necessarily the ones who made the game, but published it. And that is MLB Major League Baseball. I had my moments with it. I think back then I used to play a lot of it with my friends, but a decent arcade game that was ported over to NES, and that is an ARC. Of course, the arcade game is insanely violent and awesome. And of course, yeah, I have this personally signed by both the developers, David Crane and I can't remember the other person's name off the top of my head. My apologies. That is A Boy and His Blob, which I still really haven't played too much of yet, so I got to get the hang of that one. And of course, a classic here, sports classic, Temco Bowl. A very decent, if not very good, arcade port going over to the NES, and that is Elevator Action by Taito. And Mock Rider. This is the NES's answer, or Nintendo's answer to Hang On, so to speak, in my opinion. And of course here, I'm not even gonna lie, I've never played this game. I think I just got this in a bundle. Mad Max for the NES, which I definitely want to do like a open gameplay of. So as we're getting closer and closer to the end here, pretty much this is the end. Let's see here. I'll get this one out of the way just cause. Of course, I already know. Legend of Zelda Gold Cart, very very good condition. One of my favorite games to play, even though I totally suck at it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project. Label's pretty, seen better days, but you know, definitely not a bad game at all. Another decent but not great translation, and of course I'm being a little hard on it, and that is High Speed Pinball for the NES. Now of course the table itself is awesome. If you played it back in the day, you know what I'm talking about. And let's see here, of course we got Strider. Not so much a good translation, to be quite honest with you. I feel that the Genesis did a better job of that. And let's see here. Let's see, Skater Die 2. Let's see, from Trade West, Solar Jetman. Let's see here. Top Gun: The Second Mission. Pretty much plays just like the first, so you're not really missing much, but it has a couple of different more elements. But it's still pretty much the same game, just reskinned and a little with more content. And let's see here, the next to last game, and of course I have to have absolute ton of history with this game, is the Three Stooges, only because I watched it so much when I was a kid. Whew. I really have to say, there's a lot of freaking memories of this game. Even though they're basically mini games, I just had a lot of fun playing this game. I mean, they're kind of cornball, but definitely not a bad game by Activision. And last but not least, for the NES people, is Teenage Mutant Ninja... Of course, with the last game, I gotta mess this up. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Now, they did it right here. After the first game, they wanted to do something a little different. Of course, they ported over the arcade to here. Now, of course, you can't have all 4 turtles at the same time, which kind of blows. It would have been cool. But yeah, that's my NES collection, people, as of 2017. To be quite honest with you, I don't know what of course, you know, some of the heavy hitters I'm going to be keeping just because due to space, and some I'm going to be getting rid of. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, stay tuned. I might add some more content after this. I'm not sure, so... Bonus footage time, everybody. Aha, I thought I was going to be gone just yet, but not just yet. So, since I was going through my NES stuff, I might as well combine it in one video because I don't have as much Super Nintendo cards. So this is it right here. We're just going to go through it really, really quickly, because I know you guys have been sitting here so long, and thank you very much for checking it out. So first off here, we have Primal Rage. And let's see here, Tetris 2. Surprised I have this one, Tetris Attack. Let's see here, Donkey Kong Country. And of course here is Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. Now, I wouldn't consider these box games, but I wanted to keep these, you know, a little more protected, which of course I will get for the rest of these. Let's see here. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Let's see. Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And of course, because it's obvious if you know me by now, Space Invaders. And Pilot Wings, which is a very underrated Super Nintendo game. Gotta check that out. And surprisingly, I do have a little bit of history of this. I'll talk about that very briefly, and that is Mario Paint. Now, looking back on it, I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun with this. I even made graphics and everything just before, believe it or not, when I did a public access show. This was over 22 years ago, and I would use that to make certain graphics. Go figure. I don't have the mouse, nor do I have the pad for it. So to me, I mean, it's just to make the little musical things, and that's about it for me. So, getting to the last of these, and these are all like really good titles, because of course I wanted to like keep these. F-Zero. Let's see, Super Off-Road, the Baja, which is not exactly a bad racer. It could be a little better. And okay, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy Kong's Quest. Final Fight. Let's see, and of course Star Fox. And the last two, which are so super obvious, is Super Mario All-Stars and Super Mario World. So that's about it, everybody. That's the extra bonus footage there of my Super Nintendo and Super Nintendo collection, and pretty much all the stuff that has to do with Nintendo when it comes to cartridges. And that's about it, everybody. My apologies if I'm kind of running through this really quickly, because I just got a lot of stuff I got to do. Quite a lot of stuff I got to do here. But anyway, thank you again so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down at the bottom. And if you haven't seen my last video, I recently joined Instagram. I'm not putting a lot of stuff up yet. I'm going to be putting some stuff up from my old game room, just to kind of leave some filler. Not necessarily filler, but just some of the stuff, memories of what I used to have. You know, all we really have is memories at this rate. But anyway, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Facebook and Instagram pretty much. That's what I'm mainly going toward. And that's about it, everybody. Like I said, thank you so much for watching, and have a good one, and take care. Cheers.